Starting a new business is hard. It takes a lot of work, most of the focus for the people starting the business is usually on just the mechanics of actually operating their business. But I know from your perspective, there's some really important things if you want to be successful financially. So how should people think about what you think about when they start things off?
Well, I think about bringing the people who know how they can help you together and making sure that you have your team of advisors there to support you. We're linking here up financial advisors, accountants, lawyers, everyone who has an impact in your business, banking, connected to each other, knowing what each other does, having that connection, that relationship. And if you don't have any of those key players, they can help introduce you to and bring those to the team. Also important to understand what they actually do and what they don't do. So a big misunderstanding oftentimes is that we think from tax planning, and I'll have clients say, well, I have my accountant. Generally speaking, your accountant is doing your filing for you. They're not proactively doing planning. You would need to hire them and explicitly ask them to be doing that. That comes as a big surprise. So knowing where the limits are and knowing what you're actually getting from each of your advisors is important. And then we want to think about from your financial advisors, your banking advisors can bring so much more to the table than simply the financial conversation that you're having with them. They can talk to you about things like strategic philanthropy, charitable giving. They can help you understand how to protect your business if something happens to you, either through incapacity or if there's a death in your family, how they can help support both from your business, but also all of your personal needs together, and then making sure that they're coordinated.
Yeah, they're the quarterback in the big picture. That's great. What about, let's talk about some of the core issues, though, you think are really important from a business when they're starting. And the first one I know is income strategies and cash flow planning.
This is really big, and it's important to understand your goals. So both for your business and personally, you're going to have short-term goals and you'll have long-term goals. And it's really important to understand how those intersect with each other from a business and a personal planning perspective. The decisions that you make with respect to your business planning can have an impact on your personal options down the road. So the way that you pay yourself, for example, can have an impact. The way that you borrow money, how you finance that, whether through your business or personal, they can have overlapping implications.
And if we delve into that a little more, I would love it for people when they think of these words, they hear these words when they're thinking about their own business. This is how this personal and business kind of integrate, and for good and for bad.
Yeah. So everything is overlapping. There's really not anything that you can do from a personal perspective or a business perspective that isn't going to be impacting the other. And so we think about the basics of how you have structured your business. Do you have a corporation? Are you running this as a sole proprietor? Do you have employees? How are they? Or do you have contractors? What legal documents do you have in place to be able to support that? And what is your structure? If you're a corporation, that's going to have a different sort of a tax implication and savings strategy, borrowing strategy than you would have perhaps as a sole proprietor. And the decisions that you make early can have an impact down the road as well about what your options are. So if you're setting up as a corporation, that's going to have certain implications for selling. If you're setting up personally, that'll have implications for tax. So it's important to understand from a business structure perspective, also really important from timing and cash flow, making sure that there is that coordination between your business and your personal needs so that the cash flow is working.
Yeah.
That it's funding your business, but it's also providing for your own personal needs. And that the way in which you structure the compensation is going to be really important.
The compensation, if we talked before, it helps in terms of your retirement saving strategies and those types of things as well?
You want to have eyes on, again, short-term, long-term goals and how are you structuring this. And so the decisions that you make about how to pay yourself, for example, whether that's salary or dividends, or some people don't take any pay at all as they're trying to get the business up and going, understanding the implications for that from a personal perspective down the road. So if you're paying yourself salary, that's generating RRSP contribution room, which will allow you to make those contributions and be able to draw from that in retirement. There might be trade-offs to that strategy as well, though. You may want to be thinking about alternative ways of compensation, but understanding that whatever you're doing on this side of the table is going to have an impact over here.
What about incapacity? And again, that's the last thing a business owner is thinking about when they're starting a new business is what happens if I'm not here, but it happens. So how do you start thinking about that?
Well, it's really important to understand that planning for businesses, you do need to have those contingency plans in place. Anything can happen at any time. sickness, illness, or just an event that can happen that will impact your ability for the business to continue to run and for others to be able to make decisions for you or accept instructions. So we're thinking about the powers of attorney, for example. The needs for that for a business owner are a bit different than they are for an individual. You might want to be thinking about how to structure those differently. You might want to have different wills or trusts set up to be able to address your business. So in some provinces, you can have dual wills, having one deal with your corporate assets, one dealing with your personal assets. There's a lot of different ways to do this, but it's important, again, to ensure that anything can happen at any time. As part of your business planning, you need to have taken care of this personal, it's generally thought of as a personal consideration of the estate and incapacity planning.
You mentioned this last one at the beginning too, about just maybe when you assemble your team, knowing what people can and can't do. But part of this is also just knowing when you're working with an advisor, when you're working with a planner, that there's just a whole host of things they bring to the table, and being able to ask for those things.
Yeah, ask for those things and ask for their insights and their input on where the challenge is. Where are the people who I love going to have challenges dealing with this? Where's my business partner going to have a challenge if something happens to me? And have them present those solutions to you. Work with your other team of advisors to really look at what options are available. Make sure that you're going in with eyes wide open about what your options are and how your team can be supporting you through those conversations. Think for a second here, if you don't have signing authority set up on your account, if you have a corporation and you don't have a power of attorney in place to give somebody else the right to be able to put themselves and vote themselves into as a director, business comes to a standstill. We're not accessing any accounts. We can't even purchase what we need to keep that business going short term and long term. So yeah, getting your collective group of advisors together and understanding how they can all support you in your success is really important.